The rain in Vancouver doesn't wash things clean, it just makes the grime slicker. I stood at the iron gates of my own estate, the water dripping off the brim of my hat, soaking into the collar of a coat that felt too heavy for my recovering body. I was supposed to be in a rehabilitation clinic in Kyoto, healing from a heart transplant that nearly killed me. I was supposed to be weak. I was supposed to be absent, but a father knows when the wolves are circling. I hadn't told anyone I was coming back early. Not my son, Lucas. Not my son-in-law, Dominic. And certainly not my daughter, Isabella. I wanted to surprise them. I wanted to see the sanctuary I had built for them. Instead, I saw a nightclub. My driveway was clogged with Aston Martins and Lamborghinis. Bass from a stereo system thumped against the cedar siding of the house like a war drum. I walked up the path, my cane sinking into the mud. That's when I saw her. At first I thought it was a pile of discarded landscaping bags near the service entrance. Then the pile moved. It shivered. I stepped closer, my new heart hammering a frantic rhythm against my ribs. It was a woman, curled into a ball on the wet concrete, trying to pull a thin, torn blanket over her shoulders. I knelt, ignoring the pain in my chest. I pulled back the edge of the blanket. The face that looked up at me was gaunt, hollowed out by hunger and exposure. But I knew those eyes. It was Isabella, my daughter, the girl I had built this empire for. "Dad?" she cracked, her voice a ruin. If you are listening to this, and you think wealth protects your family from cruelty, you are wrong. My name is Frederick, and I am about to tell you how I lost everything, and how I burned the world to get it back. If you've ever been betrayed by the blood in your veins, hit that like button. Tell me in the comments what city you are watching from. And please, share this story. Someone out there needs to hear it. And subscribe, because the justice coming is worth the wait. "Isabella," I whispered, the word choking me. She flinched as if I were about to strike her. She smelled of rain and sickness. My princess, who used to run architectural firms in Milan, was rotting on my doorstep. "You have to go," she whimpered, pushing weakly at my chest. "Dominic, if he sees you, he'll be angry." Before I could ask why my son-in-law would be angry that I was breathing, the side door banged open. Light spilled out, blinding me. A silhouette filled the frame, tall, broad, and smelling of expensive scotch and Cuban tobacco. It was Dominic. He was wearing a velvet smoking jacket I had bought in London. He looked down at us, not with surprise, but with irritation. He didn't see a father-in-law returning from the dead. He saw an inconvenience. "Look at this," Dominic slurred, laughing over his shoulder to someone inside. The stray found a friend. He stepped out, and I saw his feet. He was wearing my vintage loafers, the ones I wore to my late wife's funeral. He placed the sole of the shoe on Isabella's shoulder and shoved her down into the mud. "Quiet down, filth," he spat. "You're ruining the vibe." The rage that filled me wasn't hot. It was absolute zero. I stood up, gripping my cane. "Get your foot off my daughter, Dominic." Dominic froze. The cigar fell from his mouth, disappearing into a puddle. He squinted, the alcohol slowing his recognition. "Frederick?" "I'm not a ghost," I said, my voice steady. "Though you look like you've seen one." The clinic said," he stammered, backing up. "You're supposed to be in isolation." I discharged myself. I stepped into the light. "Why is my daughter outside, Dominic? Why does she look like a prisoner of war?" Lucas, my own son, appeared behind Dominic. He held a champagne flute, his eyes glassy. When he saw me, he didn't run to hug me. He didn't ask how I was. He exchanged a panicked, terrified look with Dominic. "Dad," Lucas said, putting on a shaky smile, "you're confused. The medication, the doctors warned us about the psychosis." "Psychosis?" I pointed at Isabella, who was shivering violently. "Is her starvation a hallucination, Lucas?" "She's sick, Dad," Dominic interjected smoothly, regaining his composure. "It's a new cleansing therapy. She insists on it. Grounding, connection to the earth. We beg her to come inside, but she gets violent." He looked at me with the eyes of a shark. "Come in, Frederick. You need rest. You're clearly having an episode." They ushered me inside, but not to the master suite, not to the library. They flanked me like prison guards and steered me toward the back of the house, toward the converted carriage house we used for storage. "The main house is being fumigated," Lucas lied, unable to meet my eyes. "Chemicals, dangerous for your immune system. You'll be safer in the carriage house." I looked around as we passed the great room. My art collection, gone. The antique Persian rugs, gone. Replaced by gaudy mirrored furniture and modern art that screamed new money. They hadn't just redecorated, they had erased me. "Where are my things, Lucas?" I asked. "Storage, Dad, for safekeeping." They shoved me into the carriage house. It was cold, damp, and smelled of gasoline. There was a cot in the corner and a barred window. "Rest now," Dominic said, his voice dropping the facade of politeness. "Don't wander, Frederick. The security system is armed. You wouldn't want the police to mistake you for an intruder in your own home." He clicked a lock on the heavy wooden door. I heard the deadbolt slide home. I wasn't a guest. I was an inmate. I sat on the cot, listening to the rain hammer against the roof. An hour later, the door opened again, and they threw Isabella in. She landed hard on the floorboards, too weak to break her fall. I scrambled to her, pulling her into my arms. Up close, the horror was worse. Her wrists were bruised, dark purple rings that spoke of restraints. Her fingernails were broken and dirty. "I'm sorry, Dad," she sobbed into my coat. "I'm so sorry." "Shh," I stroked her matted hair. "We're going to fix this." "No." She shook her head, terror wide in her eyes. "You don't understand. They have everything. The accounts, the deeds, the medical power of attorney. They declared you incompetent weeks ago." I looked at my daughter, a woman who used to command boardrooms, reduced to a trembling child. We often ignore the signs of toxicity in the people we love because we are afraid of the conflict. We let small disrespects slide until they become avalanches that bury us. If you believe that family isn't just about blood, but about who stands by you in the storm, please subscribe to the channel now. It's a small click for you, but it's a promise to yourself that you won't let the darkness win. The next morning, a guard I didn't recognize slid a tray through a slot in the door. On it was a bowl of watery broth and a piece of stale bread. "Eat up, old man," the guard grunted. I ignored the food and examined Isabella. She was lucid for the first time in hours. She reached into her pocket and pulled out a crumpled piece of paper. "Look," she whispered. It was a schedule. Monday, water. Tuesday, broth. Wednesday, fasting. At the top, in Dominic's handwriting, it read, "Re-education protocol." "They're starving you," I realized, my blood turning to ice. "Systematically." "They want the trust fund," Isabella whispered. "Dominic spent the operating capital. He needs my signature to unlock the family trust." I refused. This is the negotiation. And Lucas? I asked, dreading the answer. Lucas is weak, she said bitterly. Dominic promised him the tech startup capital if he went along with it. Lucas sold me for a seed round, Dad. I needed to contact my lawyer, Mr. O'Malley. I checked my pockets. They had taken my phone, my wallet, everything. But they had forgotten one thing. I wore a simple digital watch. It looked like a cheap piece of plastic from a drugstore. But inside, it held a SIM card and a text-only emergency transmitter I used for sailing solo across the Pacific. I pressed the side buttons in a specific sequence. The tiny screen flickered. Searching for signal. Nothing. Signal jammed. Dominic wasn't just cruel. He was thorough. He had turned the estate into a black site. We were electronically isolated. No calls out, no GPS in. I looked at the ventilation grate high on the wall. It connected to the main house's HVAC system. It was old metal ductwork. It carried sound. I dragged the cot over and climbed up, pressing my ear against the cold aluminum. The voices were faint, echoing down from the library. But I could make them out. Deadline is tomorrow, Dominic. That was Lucas, sounding frantic. The syndicate is sending a collector. If we don't have the cash, shut up. Lucas, Dominic's voice was smooth, arrogant. The old man is back. That complicates things, but it also accelerates them. We don't need Isabella's signature anymore. What do you mean? I have the medical power of attorney over Frederick. If he dies of complications from his transplant, I control the entire estate immediately. No trust fund restrictions. You want to kill him? Lucas squeaked. He's our dad. He's a walking ATM that's out of order, Dominic snapped. Tonight, during the gala, we announce his tragic passing. The doctor is already paid off to sign the certificate. I climbed down, my legs shaking. They weren't just thieves. They were executioners. And the clock had just started ticking. Hours later, the door opened. Dominic stood there, flanked by two large men. Cleaning time, he sneered. We have guests coming. Can't have you smelling like livestock. They dragged us to the main house kitchen. It was bustling with caterers who kept their heads down, paid to ignore the bruises on the daughter of the house. A young woman sat at the island, eating a fruit salad. She was beautiful in a sharp plastic way. Kylie, Dominic's assistant. Is this them? She asked, wrinkling her nose. God, Dominic, they look awful. They'll clean up, Dominic said, pouring himself a coffee. He looked at me. You're going to be a butler tonight, Frederick, and Isabella is going to be a maid. You're going to serve my investors? You're going to show them that the great Frederick is just a senile old man playing dress-up. And if we refuse? I asked. Dominic leaned in close. Then I hand Isabella over to the men I owe money to. They have a very different idea of service. They left us in the pantry to change into ill-fitting uniforms. I saw a smart fridge in the corner of the kitchen. It was a new model, massive screen. Dominic had logged in to check his stocks. He had left it logged in. I glanced at the guard. He was flirting with one of the catering staff. I moved to the fridge. I didn't go to the browser. I went to the settings, then to linked devices. Dominic had synced his cloud account. I opened his notes app. It was a graveyard of financial ruin. Gambling debts, 8 million crypto losses, $12 million. Margin calls, overdue. He hadn't just spent my money. He had incinerated it. He was leveraged to the hilt with a Singaporean crime syndicate called the Red Lotus. Then I saw the draft email to his lawyer. Subject, death certificate draft, Frederick. He had already written my obituary. Hey, the guard shouted. I stepped away from the fridge, feigning a coughing fit. Water, I wheezed. Just getting water. Dominic strode back in. He grabbed me by the collar of the butler's jacket. Smart appliances are for smart people, Frederick. You're just a relic. You lost it all, I whispered, loud enough only for him. The crypto, the gambling. You're broke, Dominic. He froze, his grip tightened. I didn't lose it. I invested it. It's a temporary liquidity issue. The Red Lotus doesn't do temporary, I said. They break legs, or worse. Dominic shoved me back. You think you know? You know nothing. I own this house. I own you. Tonight I secure the funding to pay them off, and you exit stage left. He signaled the guards. Get them to the ballroom. The show is starting. The ballroom was bathed in red and gold light. It was filled with the city's elite, tech moguls, politicians, people I had mentored. They looked through me. To them, I was just an old servant with a limp. I saw Isabella moving through the crowd with a tray of champagne. She was trembling. Lucas was in the corner, drinking heavily, avoiding looking at either of us. Dominic stood on a raised platform, a microphone in hand. Welcome, everyone. Tonight is about the future. The Phoenix Project. A vision of luxury living. He pointed to a large screen displaying architectural renderings. My renderings, stolen from my archives and rebranded. My father-in-law, Frederick, sadly couldn't be here mentally. Dominic sighed. A perfect performance of grief. Dementia is a cruel thief. But he would have wanted us to move forward. I gripped the silver tray I was holding. The audacity was breathtaking. He was selling my legacy to pay for his sins. I managed to maneuver near the back of the room, toward the garden doors. I needed 5 minutes. Dad, Isabella hissed, appearing beside me. The safe in the library. Dominic moved the biometric scanner. It's voice-activated now, his voice. I can't mimic him, I said. No. She pressed a small voice recorder into my hand. But I recorded him screaming at me yesterday. He said the passphrase, ambition is the only currency. My daughter. Even broken, she was brilliant. Distract them, I said. She nodded, terror and resolve warring in her eyes. She walked into the center of the room and dropped her tray. Glass shattered. Silence fell. While all eyes turned to scold the clumsy maid, I slipped out into the hallway. The library was dark. I locked the door and moved to the bookshelf safe. I held the recorder up to the panel. I pressed play. Dominic's angry voice filled the silence. Ambition is the only currency. The lock chirped. Access granted. The heavy door swung open. It wasn't full of money. It was full of debt notes. Promissory notes to the Red Lotus. And a file labeled Isabella, collateral. I opened it. Photos of Isabella, her daily schedule. A contract signing over her guardianship to the syndicate if payment wasn't made by midnight tonight. He wasn't just going to let them hurt her. He was going to sell her. I took the documents. I took the burner phone sitting on the shelf. The direct line to the syndicate. I dialed the number. This is O'Malley, a voice answered. Not the syndicate. My lawyer. I had routed the call through my memory of his private line. O'Malley, I said. It's Frederick. I'm alive. And I want to buy a debt. I was stuffing the papers into my jacket when the door handle rattled. Then a key turned. Lucas stepped in. He held a steak knife from the buffet. His face was pale, sweaty. Dad, he whispered. Dominic sent me. He saw you leave. Put the knife down, Lucas, I said calmly. I can't, he sobbed. He said if I don't, He'll tell them I embezzled the company funds too. He has proof. He manipulated you, I said, stepping closer. Look at this. I shoved the Isabella collateral file at his chest. Look at what your partner is doing to your sister. Lucas looked at the photos, the contract. His hands shook. The knife clattered to the floor. He said she would be safe, Lucas stammered. He said it was just financial. He sold her, Lucas. And he'll sell you next. Now, pick a side. Are you my son? Or are you his accomplice? Lucas fell to his knees. Help me, Dad. Get up, I ordered. We have a party to crash. I walked back into the ballroom. It was nearly midnight. Dominic was wrapping up his speech. And so, with your investments, we break ground tomorrow. The crowd applauded politely. I walked straight to the sound booth in the back. The technician tried to stop me, but Lucas stepped in, flashing his family badge. Let him through. I plugged my phone into the main console. Ladies and gentlemen, my voice boomed through the speakers. The feedback squealed. Dominic froze on stage. He squinted into the spotlight. Security! Get him! Sit down, Dominic, I roared, my voice returning to the baritone that had commanded construction sites for 40 years. I hit a button on the console. The screen behind Dominic flickered. The architectural renderings vanished. The screen filled with a video. It was footage from the kitchen security camera, dated 3 days ago. It showed Dominic kicking Isabella. It showed him laughing with Kylie about the old man dying soon. The crowd gasped. A murmur of horror rippled through the room. That's AI, Dominic screamed, panic cracking his voice. Deepfake. Is this a deepfake? I asked, switching the slide. It was the bank statement. Balance, zerumd, next slide. The debt notes to the Red Lotus, owed $22 million. You didn't invest in a visionary, I told the crowd, walking toward the stage. You are dining with a fraud who is broke, desperate, and dangerous. The investors began to back away. The illusion of wealth evaporated, leaving the ugly stench of crime. Dominic looked wild. He saw his life crumbling. He jumped off the stage and grabbed Isabella, pulling a small pistol from his jacket. Back off, he screamed. I'll kill her. I swear I'll do it. He dragged her toward the exit. The crowd screamed and scattered. You can't go out there, Dominic, I said, standing my ground. The Red Lotus is waiting at the gate. It's midnight. I have the money, he lied, waving the gun. I have the investors. You have nothing, I said. Because I bought the debt. Dominic stopped. What? I called O'Malley. I liquidated my offshore emergency assets. I paid the Red Lotus in full 10 minutes ago. They assigned the debt to me. I pulled a contract from my pocket. I am your creditor now. You don't owe the mob. You owe me. Dominic laughed, a manic, broken sound. So what? You're my family. You won't hurt me. I am not your family, I said cold. I am your landlord. I am your banker. And I am foreclosing. I signaled to the balcony. Police in tactical gear swarmed in from the terrace. O'Malley had timed it perfectly. Dominic Vance, an officer shouted. Drop the weapon. Dominic looked at the police, then at me. He realized the mob wasn't going to kill him. The law was going to bury him. He dropped the gun. As they handcuffed him, I walked over. I leaned into his ear. I kept the receipt, Dominic. Enjoy prison. I hear the shoes are terrible. Then I turned to Lucas. He was standing by the booth, looking hopeful. Dad, he said, we did it. We? I asked. I looked at my son, the boy who had watched his sister starve for a promise of cash. You helped me because you were cornered, Lucas, not because you are good. Dad, please, he begged. I was scared. Fear is a reaction. Betrayal is a choice. You chose. I handed him a single bag. Get out. You are not part of this family anymore. You are not part of this business. You are on your own. He cried. He pleaded. But I turned my back. 6 months later, I sat on the deck of a small boat off the coast of New Zealand. The air was clean. Isabella was there, painting. She looked healthy again, though the scars on her wrists would never fully fade. We had sold the estate. We donated the money to shelters. We kept enough for peace, nothing more. Justice isn't always pretty. Sometimes it requires you to amputate a limb to save the body. It hurts, God, it hurts. But when I look at my daughter smiling at the horizon, I know I made the right choice. If you found peace in this ending, if you believe that the wicked eventually pay their debts, please subscribe. It's not just a button. It's a signal that you stand for truth in a world full of lies. Join us. We have more stories to tell.